Good morning. It's adventure day. Ha 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 ha. I haven't slept in this late in like years. It felt good. It's about 4:30. I just got back from dropping off Jessa at the dog sitter's place where she'll be staying for the next few days. Got a quick lunch dinner at Oronso at Midtown, and I am walking to the train station now. This is so exciting. It is about 8 a.m. I woke up about 2 hours ago, so around 6. It wasn't the best night of sleep. It wasn't really like a noise issue. There's so much white noise in this room naturally, just with like the air conditioning and stuff. It was more just like the rocking of the train that kept me awake more than anything else, and these curtains do a pretty good job of blocking out the light. So yeah, it wasn't a light issue or a noise issue. It was mostly just I'm not used to sleeping in a moving vehicle. The only time I've ever done anything like this is during my cruise over Easter, but those ships are so big, and the Caribbean and Gulf are usually so calm and mild compared to like the Atlantic and the Pacific that I really couldn't even feel the waves at all during that cruise. So yeah, really interesting sensation sleeping on a train. I'd say my best sleep was probably from about 3 to 6 a.m. All the rest was just kind of like naps here and there. And I did get to bed a lot later last night than I was planning because I had a long phone call from like 9 to 11. Shout out to Steven if you're watching this. Thanks for joining me for my journey. But yeah, I got quite a few more hours on this train. We're supposed to be arriving in New York City around 7 p.m. So I got about 11 more hours. I'm hoping to take a shower. I've been told that there's a shower in the back of the train. So I'm hoping to hit that up in a little bit. We'll see. All right. Okay, wow. If you ever get a chance to shower on a train, do it. That was one of the most thrilling things I have done in quite some time. I didn't come close to slipping, but just the constant shaking and rattling and bouncing of the train, I almost got knocked over so many times. That was really fun. 10 out of 10 we'll do again. it's about 6 p.m. We're still on our way to New York City. We had about a 1-hour delay in Washington, D.C. They said something about a signal. I don't know if it was a light signal on the track or if it was like some signal in the train, but regardless, we had an hour delay, so instead of arriving in New York City around 7, we'll be arriving around 8. Not a huge deal. I'm still having a good time. I'm still enjoying the ride, because I mean, that's really what a lot of this trip is all about, is just enjoying the journey. I'm ready to be there, y'all. I'm ready to be in New York City and to get to my Airbnb. I brought one of these little stress balls with me. I haven't used it at all this entire trip up until like the last hour or so, because I'm starting to go a little bit crazy. All right, I'll catch you soon. Bye. I can't believe I finally made it. Just waiting to catch an Uber now. It's so exciting. Hello there. So we made it to the Airbnb, and I just wanted to like take a second to talk about what this trip is all about. So in 2014, when I studied abroad in Austria, that was my first introduction to rail travel, traveling by trains instead of cars, instead of planes. And it was a really positive experience. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was really tiring sometimes, because more often than not, we just traveled in coach and just to save money instead of having to pay for a cabin. Oftentimes cabins weren't available anyway. So anyway, I had that experience in 2014, traveling by train many times in Europe. And then 2 years after that, when I worked for Disney, I actually worked at a train in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Although I did not necessarily enjoy working for Disney, and although I did not necessarily enjoy many of my coworkers per se, I did enjoy the nature of the train itself, and just like the overall culture of a train, whether it's in a theme park or if it's in real life. I like trains. That's what I came to the conclusion of. So when I moved to Tampa, initially I lived in the USF area, about 20 minutes away from downtown. I learned where the Amtrak station is. And when I moved to Channelside, I then began living just a few blocks from the Amtrak station. So as you saw earlier in this video, I literally walked from my condo to the Amtrak station. And so my journey began. The whole point of this trip, which I booked back in August, by the way, this was not some spontaneous last-minute trip. This has been planned for months. But the whole point of this trip was solely to go on a train ride. This is a very short trip. Took 27 hours to get here. And it'll take about 26 hours to get back if we don't have any delays, because we did have an hour delay getting here. And I'm only going to have one full day here. Tomorrow is my one and only full day. I'm going to see 2 Broadway musicals. I'm seeing Hadestown and Beetlejuice on Broadway, which I'm extremely excited for. But even seeing those shows were just simply an afterthought. Like, the whole point of this trip was to go on train rides. So one train ride down. So far the mission has been pretty successful, and I'm extremely excited to see these 2 musicals, don't get me wrong, especially because Beetlejuice is closing soon, and I never thought I was going to have the chance to see Beetlejuice, because it was supposed to close during the pandemic. Like, it was announced to close before the pandemic began, and because of the pandemic they were never going to have an official closing night, and indeed they didn't. The show did not reopen when Broadway reopened until about 3 months later. They ended up reopening in a completely different theater, and now they're going to be closing again. So I never thought I was going to have the chance to see Beetlejuice. So this is a really exciting opportunity that I just wasn't expecting at all. So that's kind of what this trip is all about. It's about a train ride. It's about 2 train rides. And there just so happen to be 2 incredible Broadway musicals sandwiched in between. So I'm really excited for the rest of this trip. On the way back to Tampa, I will be traveling in coach, so I probably will not be sharing as many videos and pictures on the way back home as I did on the way here. just for the sake of people's privacy, because I don't want to be recording a bunch of people all the time on the way home. But I'll do what I can. Thank you for watching this video. Onwards, onwards, onwards. You know, it's 11 p.m. I must admit that after being on the train for 27 hours and not sleeping all that well, I did not see not being tired at 11 p.m. on my bingo card for today. But somehow, some way, that's what's happening right now. Why am I not tired? We officially made it to Manhattan, not just Manhattan, but Broadway specifically, which is very exciting. It is a very crappy weather kind of day today. Cool, like 40s and 50s, and a little drizzly. I apologize, I completely forgot to tell you what we're up to this morning. So anyway, I was dropped off by the Walter Kerr Theater, which is where Hadestown show doesn't start until 2 o'clock, so I got a lot of time to kill, so walking over to the Chelsea market, and we'll look around there for a little bit. We are on our way back over to Broadway now. Just had a yummy lunch at a Greek restaurant at Chelsea Market, and my lenses are starting to transition, as you can see, which means it's getting brighter. The sun's still not shining, but we got some blue skies. It's 4:30, just got out of Hadestown. It was absolutely fantastic. Got a couple hours until Beetlejuice begins. Gonna get some food, get some steps in, and have a jolly grand old time. But first, before food, had to make a little stop by Caffeination Station. It's time to go to the wedding of the century. Beetlejuice was so good! It was really, really funny. And the music was incredible, which I already knew going into it. I'm so happy I got to see it before it closes in January. What a fun trip. Wow. Talk about an exhausting day. I just went to the netherworld twice today. And I live to tell the tale. What a day. By the time I got out of the theater after seeing Beetlejuice, I was like, I was so ready to be home. It was such a good show. Both shows were really, really good, but after sitting in theaters for like 5 pushing on 6 hours today, yeah, I was done. And like, I got a lot of exercise, but it was just cold outside. Cold for Florida man anyway. There was one point I went to McDonald's to use the restroom, and then I felt guilty for just using the restroom, not buying anything. So I was like, okay, we'll get a McFlurry. And then I ended up sitting in McDonald's for like 45 minutes because it was so cold outside. I needed warmth, and yeah, so I savored that McFlurry for every little bit that I could to get some heat. Yes, I had ice cream to help me warm up. Don't hate. But yeah, for Florida man, it was a really cold day. I probably would have explored more had it not been for that. And my body wasn't even cold. It's not that I didn't have a warm enough jacket. It's not that I didn't have warm enough pants. It's just my face doesn't know how to handle cold weather anymore. Like, if I wanted to stay warm, I would have had to wear a face mask or something outside, which I actually did mean to bring one with me, just like as a COVID safety precaution, but I totally forgot to bring a face mask with me for this trip. So it was what it was, and I just had a cold face today. Yeah, but overall, really good day. I'm just really exhausted. I'm flooding myself with water right now because I definitely did not drink enough water today. And that's one of the many ways I help to prevent acne outbreaks. So I'm just drinking a lot of water, and I'll be going to bed shortly. Hopefully by 1 a.m. I'll be asleep, and then I gotta be up around 7:30 a.m. tomorrow morning to start getting ready for that 26-hour train ride back to Tampa. It'll be a good time. Good morning. It's about 8:30 a.m. on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I just finished getting ready for the day, which is always a nice 2-hour process. I'll be catching an Uber to go to the train station very soon to begin the nice 26-hour journey back home to Tampa. Here we go. The theme for today's train outfit is gray jumpsuit. 26 hours later, finally made it back to Tampa. So I rode in coach that entire time. I'm not as greasy and sloppy of a mess right now as I thought I was going to be, but I'm still pretty gross. And I need a shower really badly. Of that 26-hour journey, I had approximately 1 hour total without a fellow passenger in the seat next to me. And it was a broken up hour between two different sections of time, so it wasn't like one full hour. I feel like a tourist in my own city again. It feels so good to be back. Oh my goodness. Channelside and Water Street, you are so beautiful. Even though your buildings are short as heck, you are so beautiful. So the last train stop before Tampa is Lakeland. So immediately after the Lakeland stop, the conductor on our train just kept going on and on. Like, if you stay on this train after Tampa, you're gonna be treated as trespassers. And I'm waking you up now, so go wash your face and get ready and pack your bags, do whatever you need to do to get ready to get off this train, because if you stay on beyond Tampa, you are trespassers, and it's the holidays, and all of your luggage is going to be treated as finders keepers, because we don't have lost and found. So aggressive. Probably a New Yorker, but probably not actually a New Yorker. Most New Yorkers don't actually act that way. It feels good to be home. I might have like a wicked 5 o'clock shadow going on, but I took one of the most fantastic showers of my life a little bit ago. So I'm back home doing laundry. I got my dog here. We're both content. Just gonna be kind of doing some chores the rest of the day, getting ready for the work week because it is Sunday afternoon. And I am going back to work tomorrow. So just a few things to kind of go over and recap for this trip. How did I sleep on the train? I definitely slept better when I had a roomette to myself, and I had a bed to stretch out on, but two big issues I had sleeping even in the roomette was because the bed is so skinny, there wasn't really enough room for my long arms. So my arms kept falling asleep, and I kept like waking up to pins and needles in my arms, which wasn't the most fun. And then additionally, the noise of like the train whistles and stuff, that didn't really keep me awake. What kept me awake more was just the vibration of the train and like the bumping and the rocking and the stopping and the accelerating. Because it's not like a constant rhythm. It's not like when you're on a cruise ship and you feel like the waves is kind of a constant rhythm, if you can even feel the waves at all. It's very sporadic and spontaneous, and there's no pattern to it at all. So it's kind of hard unless you've done it a few times, or if you're like really tired. No matter how comfortable your bed is, it's kind of difficult to sleep through that, in my opinion. With that being said, though, I still did get a decent amount of sleep on the way back when I just had a seat to myself. It just was never a very deep sleep. So like I nodded off a lot of times. I mean, figure when you have 26 hours, you're going to get some sleep at some point. But yeah, I felt pretty good when I got off the train. But then after I showered and kind of finished getting ready for the day, that's kind of when I realized, like, actually, yeah, no, I'm still pretty darn tired. Like, I had 2 shots of espresso, took some Advil because I had a little bit of a headache, had some food, and yeah, I am still feeling pretty sleepy. So I definitely slept better in the roomette than I did in the seat on the way back. But all said and done, would I do this trip again? Yes, to a certain extent. So like I said at the beginning, the main point of this trip was to take a long train ride, and the fact that I got to see 2 Broadway musicals in between those 2 train rides was just an added bonus. So the objective of this trip absolutely was accomplished. I managed to go on 2 really long train rides to and from New York City. So that was successful. I would probably never do that again. I think taking 1 train ride that's 26 hours is fine. So I wouldn't mind maybe flying to New York City and then taking the train back, or vice versa. I haven't really decided how I think that would work out best logistically, to fly there first or to take the train first, but yeah, would I do the trip again? Most likely. But I wouldn't take the train both directions. It takes so much time. I mean, that's 2 full days entirely gone, and then some, like more than 2 full days entirely gone, just to transportation alone. And would I go sleeper cabin or seat? Honestly, it depends on the fares. Because like sometimes you can get a sleeper cabin for like $300. I would do that. But other times sleeper cabins are like $800. It really just depends on whether it's a roomette or a full room, because full rooms cost a lot more than roomettes. So it just kind of depends on what's available and what days you're traveling. So yeah, if I had to choose seat versus roomette, obviously I would choose a roomette if I could. But if a room is going to cost like 8 times the amount of a seat, I'm not going to do that. So it really just depends on what's available. But yeah, I absolutely would do the trip again. I would definitely, I don't regret only having 1 full day in New York City. I don't regret that at all. But if I were to do this trip again, I would definitely plan to have more than just 1 full day in New York City. I used to live in South Jersey, so like I used to frequent New York City fairly often. Had this been my first time going to New York City, I would have made sure I had at least 5 days in the city, I think. But again, this trip wasn't about going to New York City, it was about the train ride. So yeah, I don't regret only spending 1 day there, but if I were to do this trip again, I would fly one of the directions, take the train the other direction, and spend a good 3 or so days in New York City. That way I can do more than just Times Square and Broadway. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this journey. I'm sorry this video is so long. I just have so much I wanted to share with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day and stay zesty.